Tom, it's Tom. How are you, Tom?
Not bad, mate. There we go. We've got 3 Toms in already. Yeah,
Yes,
pretty well. How are you?
yes. It was trying to see how many Toms we could slip into the conversation. We could maybe have a conversation about sat navs would be a good start on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
So listen, Tom, I've known you for years. Okay, I've seen you from the corporate world. I've been a potential customer of yours, so I've seen you pitching.
Yeah,
I've seen your trials and tribulations as a business owner, without stealing your thunder there. And I've been in a similar stage as yourself for most of that time as well. So we've been able to bounce off each other and resonate with each other. So I'm really keen for you to share your story with whoever happens to be listening to this at some point. Before I do that, how do I pronounce your surname? I've never got it right.
LIPCZYNSKI. So yeah, that's always a bit of a party trick and helped me break the ice back in the bar with a few different girls back in the day. But yeah, don't use that anymore. But yeah, LIPCZYNSKI. So that's
There we are. Done. Done. Thank you. How many years have I waited to ask you that?
yeah, yeah. Well, you better remember now, mate. But yeah, look, obviously, yeah, like you said, we've known each other for a while, Tom, in different sort of ways in recruitment industry. But initially, our paths crossed when I was finishing up at Adzuna, which is a job board stemming off a joint venture with Fairfax Media and a infiltrating job board coming out of the UK. And then after that, I joined Indeed. So yeah, I actually looked after Purple Patch Consulting when I was at Indeed. And yeah, we had to spend a bit of time together. And even prior to that, I think at Charterhouse, our paths probably crossed a little bit as well. So yeah, my whole background is, I guess, HR tech, job boards. And after doing that for about 7 or 8 years, I started my own job board focusing on video applications and video recruitment. So yeah, my history is sort of based around the industry of recruitment and video.
Love it. Okay. All right. So lots of the conversations that I've had with other people have been where they've taken that leap of faith from being in a comfortable enough corporate role into
Yeah,
running their own business. So I'd love to know how that transition happened for you. But also, because we're in a similar field, obviously we speak to candidates, we speak to clients. Okay,
yeah,
all the time, and we're talking the same topic, but for different side of the fence. So it's the same narrative, but with a different terminology. So I'll be interested to see what your take is on that when it comes to the video interviewing. But before we get into that, yeah, tell me what how long did you prepare for your leap of faith into being a business owner?
yeah. No, obviously, great question, right? And it's always good to sort of hear it from other business leaders how it all happened. So there wasn't really, Indeed was a great company and still is. Fantastic perks, they look after their employees. However, limited, right? It's owned by a Japanese conglomerate based, another headquarters in the US. So I think coming out of Australia, it's very hard to propose changes to the
Mm.
platform. I remember like trying to put a horse during Melbourne Cup. I was like, it'd be great to have a little horse next to the Indeed symbol. I think it took about 6 months, and we didn't get the little horse to pop up on our homepage. So yeah, quite challenging to make any little drastic or tiny little change. So that was, something I was like, well, I'd love to do more, but what else can I do? I felt like I was part of a bigger machine, which I was, which was very successful. But at the same time, yeah, video. I've always thought video could be a good solution. I had clients in retail and hospitality industries who basically said, we'd love to do video or use video a little bit more. How would we do it? So with my co-founders who, coming from my stockbroking background, yeah, a few people that I knew had a little bit of money, a few ideas, a few concepts, a few successful businesses. We decided that, let's launch Reply and let's start a video-based job board. Yeah.
That was a nervous laugh at the end there.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if it's still there's a bit of anxiety about where it's going next, or questioning your decision making at the time. You know,
look, probably a bit of both. And I think when is the right time to start a business, Tom, right? I mean, it's so hard, and we all go, my goodness, I'd love to be, having a nice hot breakfast in the office with this and that. And here I am fumbling through a database trying to get a lead, or, try to convert something or hire someone for the business. Yeah, but I think I didn't know much about starting a business. Luckily my other co-founders did, but yeah, I did find it quite challenging at the beginning. At the same time, we raised capital pretty well, quite quickly early on. So yeah, we did always have that runway, that buffer. But in a way, it almost made it that false sense of security in terms of, hey, this is going to happen every month, right? We're going to have this money bankrolling us for X amount of time. And because we launched pretty much during COVID, yeah, the money funnel eventually just kind of turned off. And I was like, okay, so here we have X amount of dollars in the bank account. Not sure when the next one will come in. What do we do now, right? So yeah, do we sort of invest more in terms of making the product pretty, or do we start generating revenue? So yeah, we launched pretty quickly when I guess the cap raise started to slow down a little bit.
So I like when you said there, when's the best time to start a business? And we've both started similar times. COVID is the elephant in the room, and we really suffered for it. And obviously hindsight would tell me something different. But it's almost like that Chinese proverb, isn't it? It's when the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago was the second best time today,
Yeah,
it's still an asset. It's still something. It's not a job. If it is a job, it's a very demanding job and plenty increased levels of stress. That's for sure. Equal to the reward when it goes well. But over time, you've got an asset. It's something there that you can sell, you can merge, you can do different things with it. You can't do that with a job.
absolutely. And look, I think that was the opportunity, right? I think speaking in positive language, just to have something of my own, right? Obviously, with my other co-founders, that whatever change we put forward will be performed and done and applied. And if we wanted to implement, speech to text technology, how would we do it? We found the resources and we did it. And over 3-4 years now, we've managed to be broadcast on Channel 9 News, on at 6 p.m. news in terms of the future of recruitment. We won diversity awards. So yeah, there were so many highlights, and there continue to be. And even in terms of potential deals that are coming up in the pipeline that I'd love to sort of announce, but they're not ready yet. Pending. Yeah, very, very big highs, but at the same time, pretty extreme lows, right? In terms of frustrations and things that are just, oh my God, what am I doing here? Yeah, how do I get to the next day? How do I move the needle? Yeah.
Okay, all right. So anybody that's looking to start a business, for example, and they're in your shoes that have not done it before, okay, whereas your co-founders had, okay. So, what in hindsight, what would be the key bit of advice you'd give to people that are chewing through that thought process at the moment?
Yeah, good question. Look, I think from my side, because you work with people, Tom, more so than I do. I work with technology in terms of something that's running and populating hundreds and thousands of jobs very quickly. Connecting to different ATSs. So I think for me, co-founder would have to be someone who's technical. So my co-founders are not technical. One's very much into sort of capital raising and good sort of accounting background. So helped us with, I guess, all of that initial accounting problems and hiccups and shareholder agreements and so on. My other co-founder, very big on marketing. And again, that's great, right? So I think between me being the product expert and the sales guy, but we didn't have a tech guy. And obviously, yeah, we outsource our development to Romania initially, which started the launch of the product. Then we moved on to Jakarta in Indonesia. And now we basically have a Sydney tech hub as well. So yeah, we kind of went across the globe. But yeah, it would have been much easier if we just had someone knowing exactly what's going on from day one. And yeah, I think we would have saved a lot of money too. So yeah, that's my tip. If you're doing if you're doing a tech startup, make sure you have a tech founder or co-founder.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of businesses, they start out individually. Okay, so they're solopreneurs, and they're everything. They're the marketeer, they're the salesperson, they're the product developer, etc., etc., etc. And that's how they go. And it hits a point when they start outsourcing components of it when there's viability to do so. But I feel that the trick is to do that is to really know yourself, so know what you're good and bad at, know what your limits are. Okay, so the things that you're not so great at, they're the first things you get out the door for someone else who's a market expert to cover those blind spots for you. And if you can have it as a co-founder, even better.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and on the flip side, obviously working in sales, all my life really, yeah, if you are a tech founder, make sure you have someone who can sell, right? Because sure, you can sit there and develop an amazing product, but at the same time, I've seen companies that overdevelop, right? So they're always developing, they're never really launched. They're too scared to launch. So they have this fantastic, sexy platform sitting there and ready to, change the world. And instead of launching, they're actually waiting for another day to make it even better because they're too reluctant to go, you know what, someone's going to sell it now.
I love that because I've seen this so many times with anything. We've got product launches, updates, and what have you. Is we wait for perfection, and then someone comes along and pips you to the post or whatever. And sometimes you need to put things out there which are imperfect to iron out the perfections. Because just because you say it's perfect now doesn't necessarily mean it is. It's your customers that need to, and your potential customers and the market itself that needs to give you that feedback loop and help you. What's it? You need to fail as quickly as possible to be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, product validation as well. I think that's another one. Proof of concept and having some sort of an MVP, something where you can go and show a potential investor or demo sites. I think all of those things are pretty important on the tech side. But yeah, obviously people have fantastic ideas, but at times they're just not commercial, right? It's where you're going to make the money. So yeah, I mean, how much time have we got, right? I mean, we could talk about so many different things, but even having a sound business plan or at least some sort of some dot points where you can elaborate and expand on quite regularly and revisit. Because yeah, I think when we launched a business, we had a business plan that we almost took it from a template, so we were like, all right, the business plan that I saw had 50 pages, so we're going to make a 50-page business plan. I think we overcomplicated what we're trying to achieve instead of having that simple approach that we can expand on based on how the hell we're going to make money. I think that's always fix the problem, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you get paid somehow.
And that's just it. So the keeping it simple is underrated because, as you said, your 50 pages, you're playing to those 50 pages. Now, if you're 40 pages in, then you're not starting what you're going to do. So that leans into that perfection component before going, because we haven't done anything. Whereas if well, I want to get from A to B. Okay, let's just do that. Let's iron this out as we go, and you can speed it up and everything else. Then you get to that point of revenue much, much quicker than measuring yourself to someone else's ruler.
Spot on. Yeah. I mean, look, another one, pivot. I think that's a good one. Stick to your plan, but be prepared to pivot because we've launched a video interview platform that's actually making more money for us as a business than the video-based job board that we thought would be the real big hit. And still, obviously Australia is a bit of a tricky market to penetrate in terms of anything techie in HR, kind of like what they have. So yeah, sticking with something a little bit more common could at times be a better play than being too outgoing. I remember we had like machine learning, algorithms in terms of analyzing data points on every video. And, we just went into like space age, but what problem are we trying to solve? Like, it doesn't matter how many books you have in your bookshelf behind you, Tom, right? It's just about, would you be the right person for the job? So yeah, we kind of had to strip down and not go too far into it at times too.
I love it. And pivot was a word which unfortunately was overused. It's like
Mm.
unprecedented pivot. It's one of those words during and post COVID. I think
Yeah.
I pivoted much. I got serial whiplash.
Yeah.
Um, but you're quite right though. You need to have that agility to and the willingness to observe changes and think, actually, you know what? I love what I do. I love what I've built, whether it's whatever the service or product is, but it's not quite fit for purpose. I just need to tweak. I need to cut these corners off and make that happen. And have that agility. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think it's yeah, saying that we have had opportunities to go totally left field into something we don't do. So yeah, it's hard to say no. I think that's another important lesson, even though you might need that $10,000 for the business and you're just looking at the potential money, but yeah, it might take, 7,500 to build it because you don't know what's going on. And yeah, it's going to be a one-off, product. So yeah, I think saying no to certain opportunities is quite a big skill as well, that I didn't really say no to anything initially. Let's put it that way. For 2 years, I was like, wow, revenue, let's bring it on. So yeah, I
It's
mean, lots.
most powerful word in sales is no, in my opinion. It's actually quite interesting. The more you're talking, the bigger your list is getting. We've almost
Yeah,
got an ontology of business now.
yes, yeah. I'm not even scripting it, Tom. But yeah, it's you gotta be in it, right? To learn all this stuff. And I think the most successful businesses usually have 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses, and you just learn along the way of different ways of doing it. So yeah, that's probably a good way of
Okay.
putting it from my side.
Okay, so let's talk about your actual business for a little bit. So anybody who's listening to this will know what you do, how you can help them, who it's for, what makes it different. I think people have picked the name up, but do tell us about the name. Tell us what you do and where it's going.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, so look, Vply. Apply with video. So Vply, VPPLY. The way that we operate, we function as a job board. So just like you would go on Indeed or Seek or Monster.com or any of those big sort of job boards, same sort of process. Jobs come through, every day you come in, you see different jobs from different sort of integrations and platforms that work with us. So yeah, the platforms that advertise on Reply range from McDonald's and Guzman and Gomez to Accor hotels to SMBs, a lot of recruitment firms. We had like Bosch, companies like that posting on our platform. So yeah, quite a good mix. The only difference is when you hit apply, a video basically opens up and says, record a message to apply for this job. So instead of uploading a CV and cover letter, you're basically doing a mini interview straight off the bat, which is the initial, I guess, point of contact that an employer would get. So yeah, that's our core product. We also have a video interview platform. So the video interview platform, obviously, you can have multiple questions that come through. So if I'm hiring someone in the UK, so yeah, we actually have a company using it to get people in Aldi in the UK, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the way they use it, there's obviously thousands of applications coming through, and they have 4 or 5 different qualifying questions. And based on that, they get from the 1,000 of applications to about 100 or so, and then they go through their sort of initial testings and so on. Yeah, so that's probably our 2 core products. We also provide data. So if there's anyone who wants to, let's say, build a job board or focus on a specific industry, we assist with that process as well, with or without video. So yeah, we do quite a lot of different things by now. Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty clear to me. Obviously, I'm biased because I
Yeah.
already knew most of this, but no, never. I'm trying to imagine that I don't. So with technology and where you're trying to go, these things are fairly new. Okay, they're different ways and newer ways of evolution of doing things. With that, in my experience, I tend to find there's a bit of a learning curve for the end user. In this case, it'd be the candidates and the clients. What's been the main learning curve for both sides of the fence there?
Yeah, look, I think for the candidates, not to overcomplicate the process. I think that striving for perfection is not what we are trying to push in our platform. So yeah, we're definitely looking for the imperfections for the real person to come up, not someone who's absolutely, done the makeup all morning and has, fantastic outfit and beautiful background, and they eventually turn up to a job or a, face-to-face interview, and yeah, they're not being themselves. So I think being authentic, being true to yourself, at the same time, make sure you have a clear background and not have, thousands of shoes in there and, dirty laundry, which does happen as well. So yeah, be yourself, but don't be extreme in terms of leaving everything and messy in the background. And we do have sort of re-recording options, but we don't encourage people to re-record, right? So if someone says, Tom, tell me about yourself, I wouldn't want you to record it and send it to me, in 7 or 8 different attempts and waste half an hour. I'd rather just hear you say it the way you would say it. So yeah, I think that was one of the major learning curves, not to encourage re-recordings and styling and things like that. I think for the client side, it's still hard to comprehend video technology for many employers. How do we inject it into our business? We like the thought of it, but I don't want to sit there and watch 50 videos, right? When I get it. So yeah, it's just about what questions, what keywords, how do you eliminate, or, what are the key questions that you want to progress? So yeah, I think for the employees, even having the transcript, right? So we have transcripts, we have speech to text, we have text to speech. So we have a lot of little shortcuts where someone could just walk and watch a video quickly and go, well, you know what, that's a person I'd love to have for my business, or at least interview in person. That could be good for my business. So yeah, a few different learning curves from both sides, but yeah, it's encouraging. I think that obviously the way the world's going, everything that we do now, video conversations are so common. So yeah, it's quite good to have that sort of infiltration with reply as well.
What's quite interesting is your organic advice as you're sort of going through a chain thought process earlier on people potentially looking at going into business was almost identical to the advice you're giving both candidates and clients. Keep it simple, be authentic, and what have you, don't overcomplicate things. A lot of it was the same. Okay, and it just proves there's lessons that you don't necessarily be thinking of going into business, but the same lessons apply just in general to be successful, to embrace an opportunity, to be considered, and just maximize your return on effort.
Spot on. And look, I think, you and I both launched in COVID, and I remember having a lot of different investor sort of meetings, on video, on Zoom, on Google Meets and Teams. And I remember being so over-prepared and so nervous, and I came across really inauthentic. And
Yeah.
I think I learned from that. It's obviously be prepared, and it is important, but ultimately you are who you are, and like you're not going to change in 10 minutes or overnight because you have a potential, client or prospect. Like people see through that. So I think video has taught me quite a lot, and I'm not a natural sort of video type of person. So I think that was also like, if I can do it, I think most people can. Like it's quite confronting for me still to the day. It's not my natural sort of forte. But yeah, that's the whole point, right? It shouldn't be about me being glossy and fantastic. It's just about, yeah, everyone can do it. Say a few words and it'll help you get a job. So yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm quite outspoken. We've got this channel, so we're on video a lot, but it's also not my preference. I'm the same as you there. I believe and I feel I have more impact when I can shake someone's hand and be face to face. Now, it's not to downsell what you've built. What it does, it means that you've made a business out of it. I'm acknowledging it. Is we need to lean into the way the world's going. It's a bit like generative AI. Say you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's here to stay. It's going to advance. You need to put it in your stride. You need to make it part of your life and work out how to circumnavigate it. The world of work is pointing a way that you've invested into. Okay, so whether you and I like it or not, we need to get good at it. We need to familiarize ourselves with it and make it seamless.
Spot on. Look, absolutely. And I think that's the whole point, right? It's if it's not with our platform, it could be another platform. I think video technology, video interviews, Zoom calls. There's so many different ways to communicate now. And again, with the global workforce, that doesn't, I've got developers in Jakarta, like I said. So I used Reply to hire them and to get them on. And yeah, it was quite natural. And obviously we communicate on Zoom and Google Meets all the time. And yeah, it's just part of the process. And it's funny, obviously you touched on AI and how things are going to change. And, some people are saying resumes will die because they're all going to look amazing and the same. And, you just chuck it in ChatGPT and here you are, you're the best legal consultant in the world, or you're a physio that can help anyone, do whatever they want to do. So yeah, it's interesting because I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. You just expect people to have this fantastic CVs and cover letters. So yeah, perhaps video can help funnel out some of that noise. I could use a different word, but I'll say noise. uh, but at the same time, right, videos progressing towards deep fakes and all this. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting opportunities and challenges in terms of, I guess, paper and video. So perhaps they will sort of merge into one and yeah, give people a better option in terms of who the real person is.
I'm on the same page as you here with the CVs and that, because I've been personally been asking that for a long time now. I try my best to be a futurist in an industry that I'm in, and the CV is one that just hasn't seemed to flush away. Okay, it's still there. It's flawed in many respects, so many respects. It's flawed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what technology, it's still there. It's still hanging about. But when asking people, where's this going? What's going to entirely replace it? There hasn't been a comprehensive answer yet. It's quite interesting. I won't put you on the spot with that, but what I will do is I will put you on the spot with another question. Okay, so let's fast forward 10 years, maybe let's go 20. Let's get up there with the Jetsons. Okay, which I think we've lapsed the time of Jetsons, haven't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So let's fast forward 20 years. Okay, we're talking the world of work. You and I sitting down in Bahamas, drinking an old fashioned, talking about old days. Okay,
that's right. Anyway, go on.
I'll hold you to that if you're shouting it. What's changed? What's going to be the big change in the world of work in how people obtain their work, which both you and I are in 20 years' time?
Yeah, look, I think sectors will disappear, right? We're already seeing that sort of, people that write blogs and, certain marketing and obviously creative, people that create, fantastic photos on billboards. We're almost at the end of that age, don't you reckon, Tom? Like, yeah, I can see certain industries not being around. So I think that'd be one of the big changes when we talk about, healthcare and so on. Yeah, I mean, those are the, I guess, recession-proof industries, which we have and I think continue to have, and they're just going to be massive, right? So I think that will always keep going. Obviously, the world of developers, I don't think that's going to change anywhere. However, obviously AI can write code now, and you can basically think of an idea, chuck it in a certain platform, and potentially even have a product without a tech co-founder, which I talked about earlier. But obviously, I'm not doing that. But it is possible. You can launch your little Airbnb type of copycat platform tomorrow based on a couple of things. So yeah, I think a lot of industries will change. I think video. Look, I hope we don't have CVs because it's similar to you. I just don't think it's a fair reflection of who you are as a human, even though obviously if you're a doctor and lawyer, you've had 12 years of university and postgrad, you want to showcase what you've accomplished and your skills, but I just don't feel that is the way that we should identify and sort of promote ourselves with a piece of paper that has a few bullet points on it. And obviously the people that have not been as successful might have exactly the same CV. So that's happening now. Look, I reckon video could be there, but also we might have some different sort of virtual reality type of hiring process in terms of, based on, I don't even know, we want to sort of speculate in terms of what will be analyzed, but, speech patterns and so on could probably be better for certain industries than others, your tone. Yeah, how many friends you're linked with on certain platforms, you know. So I think everything will be overanalyzed and might just spit out, well, you're good for ABC. Yeah.
I hope they don't go down tone, because that'll make me completely unemployable.
Yeah.
Don't look at me with that tone, Rodney.
Yeah. Look, I
Anyway,
mean, we can calculate words per minute and so on, right? So I can actually classify certain people, you know, stereotypically speaking, and we don't do this, but someone who could be a stockbroker versus someone who could be a school teacher, based on analyzing certain data points from X amount of videos from teachers and stockbrokers. And yeah, they're very different sort of, you know, volumes of words that are coming out. So, you know, if I can do that now, yeah, it's hard to sort of anticipate what the future will bring. But yeah, it's exciting, right? Hopefully it's more efficient.
so
I'm
yeah,
not,
it all comes back down to the data points, isn't it? And data's king. And by the time you got quantitative and qualitative data which stacks up, then that's how people make it trust their decisions. Whereas when we look at CVs, we've got the unconscious biases, even the conscious biases. Yeah, well, would I go for a beer with this person? Yeah, would they're right for us? That's not it's not right. You know,
yeah,
it's literally a toss of the coin whether it's going to work or not. That's high risk.
100%. And obviously, you know, with video, we're very conscious of unconscious bias and conscious bias, but yeah, it's very tricky to sort of eliminate. And we do have processes like, well, you can listen to a video without looking at the person, or we can hide the name of a individual and the video and listen to the audio only. So, you know, we do have certain buffers and blockers, but ultimately that human potentially will be rocking up to an office and sitting next to another human, and they will be looking at each other, right? So we do have to sort of unmask that video at one point in time. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've unmasked, we've bared all, we've put our trials and tribulations down here for the world of the internet to watch and enjoy. I appreciate your time. Anybody listening to this and wants to communicate with you, reach out, for whatever reason, how should they find you?
Yeah, very simple. So yeah, the best method is probably via email, tom@vply.com. So tom@vply.com. Yeah, look, I'd love to connect with anyone interested in, you know, the HR tech world, or any potential, you know, candidate looking, you know, to use video, or even if they're reluctant to do so, have a chat. And obviously companies that are looking to implement it into their tech stack. So yeah, I really appreciate it, Tom. It's always good to catch up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I'm really looking forward to speaking with you again when you've got your big news, which I know is coming as well. So I'll save that for Tom 2.0.
Thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. See
All
ya.
right. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.